Hello everyone, welcome back to KXCN Live. I'm your anchor Esmeralda Zamora, and today we have our first warning weather segment with meteorologist Nick Bannon. Nick, thanks for joining me. How are you doing?
Hey, pleasure as always on this Tuesday.
So we're jumping into a December weather forecast,
yes.
Right? Talk to us what you have in store for us.
Well, I just want to lay the groundwork with where we are right now because things have not been going so well in the drought department. This map here shows you where our drought was 4 months ago in Central Texas. We were almost drought-free, as you can see there. In parts of Gillespie and Blanco County, we had some small areas of moderate to even smaller areas of severe drought, but then the rest of us 4 months ago were not even considered dry. But then fast forward to where we are right now, and things have deteriorated rapidly. We've had several drier than normal months. November was one of them, but November was actually wetter than the previous 2 months combined. So November was better, but still not great. We really need a wet weather month ahead of us, which brings us to our December outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, which is not great, but it's not terrible. The reason I say it's not terrible is because actually areas of our eastern counties are leaning toward a wetter than normal December. Now, they're only slightly leaning that way, so there's not a huge indicator for a rainy December for any of us, but at least for some of us, a wetter than normal December is in the cards. And then for the rest of Central Texas, including the metro and including our hill country, we're looking near normal for rain, and even near normal for rain would be good. We have not had a wetter than normal month since July, so if we could get a just about normal rainfall for us in December, even though it's not typically that rainy of a month anyway, then we could at least improve the drought a little bit or keep it where it is rather than making it any worse. What about from a temperature perspective? Well, leaning warmer than normal for all of Central Texas, but we're only slightly leaning that way. As the shades get darker, as you head farther west, then the odds of a warmer than normal December go up. So we're just on the fringes there of a warmer than normal December. Of course, we had a well above average top 10 warmest November on record. So to only be leaning warmer than normal in December, while it may not sound like an improvement, it would be to at least not have the odds stacked in another warmer than normal month. So that brings us to this. And you're probably wondering, what is a normal December? Well, this is how it goes, Esme. We start with average highs in the upper 60s, and by the end of the month, our average highs drop to the lower 60s. Lows average in the mid 40s at the beginning of the month, and we average in the low 40s by the end of the month. We average about 2 3/4 inches of rain. It's our second coldest month on average, and it's our 5th driest month. And we usually see our first freeze in the Austin metro in the month. Technically in Austin and Camp Mabry so far, but usually that comes in the month of December, although in previous years we've had to wait until January for that, but usually December brings our first freeze, Esme.
Wow, so the little bits of rain we've been experiencing here and there throughout November have clearly not been enough, right?
No, if anything, it's just sort of slowed the worsening of the drought rather than made for much improvements. We saw slight improvements in some of the hill country counties. They've gone from moderate drought to abnormally dry. That was basically the only improvement that we've seen in the drought in the last few weeks or really few months. Generally speaking, things have been staying the same and then gradually getting worse with every weekly update. Of course, we'll get another update here this Thursday, and as we've been talking about lately, a wetter pattern is on the way beginning this week and continuing through the weekend and possibly beyond. So some signs of an.
Of course, and I know you touched a little bit on freezing temperatures, but we're not going to see that in central Austin, are we?
So we may in the month of December. We're not expecting them over the next week, but it is December that sees our average first freeze in Austin, downtown. We haven't had one yet. We've had some freezes outside of Austin, even in parts of the Austin metro, but not downtown. And we've, of course, had a few in the hill country already. But we think that December is the month that we'll probably end up with our first of the season, of the colder months season anyway, even in downtown. So you can expect that here at least some point at this month.
And last year, when did we see our first freeze?
Oh gosh, now you're putting me on the spot. I think it was toward the middle of December we had it last year. I did not have that number on the top of my head, but just based on a vague memory, it was around that mid-December of last year, toward the end of the month. It certainly got very cold last Christmas, I remember that. So we probably had our freeze by Christmas, but it may have come a little bit earlier. I do want to mention that later on this week, myself and meteorologist Kristen Curry will be debuting our first warning weather team winter weather forecast. That'll be on CW at 9 and on KXAN at 10 on Thursday night, and we'll re-air it here Friday morning during KXAN News Today. So this December marks the first month of meteorological winter. But of course, we know that things can get usually much more interesting in January and February. So we'll be bringing you our outlook here Thursday night and Friday morning.
Yes, and that will also be on our website once it does air. And
Absolutely.
what is also on our website is your blog post for the December outlook. What is in here that we didn't get to touch on right now?
So we dipped into some of the averages, the expectations that the drought is likely getting worse, what is usual for December, a lot of the good stuff there. And then when we do release our winter outlook, we'll of course add that link into the December forecast for those that want to read them both.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining me, Nick. It was a pleasure to have you here, and we'll see you again next week.
Good talking to you too.
And this is all we have today for Nick's First Warning Weather. Remember, we'll be back tomorrow with more streams, and we hope to see you here. Thank you.